Let's bring in New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, who is chair of the House Republican Conference. Elise, great to see you. Thank you for helping out. I want to go today. I'm sure you saw it. Wall Street Journal lead editorial, a very good one. How not to remember the Holocaust. Biden has soothing words, but still denies weapons to Israel. And I'm just asking, I don't think this administration wants Israel to finish the job against Hamas. What say you, Elise Stefanik?
My take is that at every opportunity, Joe Biden has failed to show important support for Israel. And we see that playing out today as they're limiting and withholding the military aid package that Congress passed overwhelmingly on a bipartisan basis. The fact that they are tying Israel's hands when Israel is in a fight for its very existence. And let's take a step back, Larry. This is our most precious ally in the region who faced the bloodiest day since the Holocaust when a terrorist group, Hamas, committed barbaric atrocities against innocent Israelis. So we need to ensure that Israel has all tools available. That is what Congress voted for. And it's a disgrace that Joe Biden is withholding those. When it comes to Joe Biden's silence, it took him months to speak out and condemn the anti-Semitism on college campuses. He failed to hold the university presidents accountable and then yet tried to give it lip service yesterday at a memorial service. That is not good enough. That is not the type of moral, strong leadership that the world and Israel and the American people are expecting from the President of the United States.
I mean, Elise, when I don't understand what these negotiations are, all right? You know, we just reported it. Negotiations are going on. I don't even know if these negotiations include Israel. There's been talk that Israel is cut out. It's Egypt, Qatar, and the United States. Israel, you know, gets the back of the hand. I thought the goal of American foreign policy was to defend Israel and have Israel annihilate Hamas. If I may be as simplistic as that, Elise Stefanik, I thought that was the goal of American foreign policy. But I don't see that. Withholding weapons, phony peace deals, where are the hostages? They don't even talk about that anymore. What is our foreign policy toward Israel?
Well, I'll tell you, House Republicans are very clear. We stand in strong support of Israel. We brought that aid package to Israel to the floor multiple times as the Democrat Party has fractured. And we know as it's being exposed for the world to see that the pro-Hamas encampments, the pro-Hamas arm of the Democrat Party is now mainstream in Joe Biden's party. And we have not seen Joe Biden's support for Israel. If anything, they've been apologists for Hamas. And we need to be very clear, and we are very clear. And I was particularly moved when Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke at Yad Vashem and said if Israel stands alone, they will stand alone. That should never be the case. The United States should be the closest ally with Israel as they're fighting for their very existence. Certainly that's my position in terms of my voting record and how I've spoken out on this issue, and we are not seeing that from Joe Biden nor the Biden administration.
Yeah, you could have fooled me. I mean, I agree with your view. And Biden, I mean, they're just playing a double game or a triple game. And I think it's very damaging. Let me go on to a separate topic. I believe you were part of a letter, you and Claudia Tenney, Mr. Self, and some others. The Assistant Attorney General, which is a very big job, over the Civil Rights Bureau, the Civil Rights Division in the Justice Department. Kristen Clark has a history of anti-Semitism or sort of playing with anti-Semitic groups. And she's the one who supposedly will defend the civil rights laws of 1964 and Title VI and various Trump amendments to those laws to stop anti-Semitic hate crimes. I believe you are on that letter. I mean, it doesn't sound like she's the kind of assistant AG that's going to do a darn thing to punish hate groups and deal with the anti-Semitic threat. What do you think about this? What's happening with this?
You're absolutely right, Larry. That's why we wrote the letter in our capacity of having oversight. And when you have an individual at a senior level in Biden's Department of Justice who has a history of supporting anti-Semitism, and yet that's the very position that is supposed to be protecting Jewish students and ensuring that there are Title VI protections, that is unacceptable. They need to be removed from that position. And I'll tell you what, Larry, also, let's remember these Title VI protections, which were expanded to include Jewish students, that was a President Trump executive order. And the Biden administration has failed to launch investigations from the Department of Education for the failure to ensure safety and security for Jewish students on these college campuses. So you have college after college who is not complying with Title VI requirements, and yet you have an administration who fails to hold them to account. That's why these congressional hearings are so incredibly important. And when it comes to your earlier questions about the overall support for Israel, let's go back to the Trump administration, where we had the historic breakthroughs of the Abraham Accords and just the stalwart support for Israel. You had peace in the Middle East. Compare that to the weak, abject failure foreign policy of Joe Biden. That's why this choice is on the ballot this November, and it's why President Trump continues to poll stronger and stronger and will defeat Joe Biden.
You know, Elise, I mean, here's the odd thing about this. Recent poll, 72% back IDF operations in Rafah, 72%. And also, 80%, majority of Americans, this is the Harvard-Harris poll. It's a very good poll. 80% support Israel. I don't know who does he think he's leading? What does he think he's doing, deserting our ally? I mean, the country, apart from some crazy people who should be prosecuted and aren't being prosecuted for their anti-Semitism, apart from some crazy people, Elise Stefanik, the rest of the country supports Israel and wants to see Israel wipe out Hamas.
Well, you're right, Larry, and that's why Joe Biden is attempting to appease the growing pro-Hamas part of the Democrat Party, which is now mainstream. Much of this funding that goes to Democrat groups is also going to these pro-Hamas, pro-terrorist encampments on university campuses. So Joe Biden has a real political problem as to what his party has become, which is they've turned their back on Israel and they're apologists, and frankly, they publicly support the Hamas terrorist attacks and the atrocities. That is out of touch with hardworking Americans. That's out of touch with, as you said, the vast majority of the American people. And again, it's one of the reasons why, as we head to the polls this November, President Trump and Republican support continues to make significant inroads and is polling ahead in every single swing state.
Yep. Elise Stefanik, thank you. It's good to see you. Appreciate you coming back on the show. Good luck to you.